In an absolutely shocking turn of events, Bryan Kohberger, who pled guilty last year to the Idaho 4 slaying, now seems to want to withdraw his plea deal and get a new trial. I'm damned. Welcome to the show.
Santa Claus, riding in with the winter laws. Santa Claus, streaming live for the roaring masses. Ho, 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 raise them horns, old Judge King in a crown of thorns. Santa Claus, streaming live for the roaring masses. Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus.
All right, folks. This is from the Idaho Statesman via New York Times. All right, let's go through it. Actual innocence is my truth, quote. Bryan Kohberger now wants a trial. Idaho Statesman says this is a breaking news story. Then, of course, go to Idaho Statesman for updates. This is as of time of this recording. Almost 13 months after he pleaded guilty, Bryan Kohberger claims he is innocent and says he will fight his conviction for the slaying of the Idaho 4. A New York Times report published Monday, that will be today, Kohberger provided a statement and interview for the first time since he was sentenced to four consecutive life terms in prison in July 2025 and dating to when he was arrested on suspicion of the murders in December 2022. He has spent just over a year in segregated lockup at Idaho's maximum security prison south of Boise. Quote, my actual innocence is my truth, and the plea hinged on by false promises and blatant misinformation must be withdrawn, end quote. Kohberger said in a statement to New York Times Sunday, or to the newspaper Sunday night. So apparently, not only does the New York Times have this enormous report, but also seems to have talked to this newspaper. As a part of his plea deal last summer, Kohberger accepted no chance of parole and waived his appeal rights in exchange for avoiding a possible death sentence if he took his capital murder case to trial. But like all prisoners, he maintains the right to ask a court for post-conviction relief, an appeal action that cannot be signed away, including on potential arguments that he received inadequate legal representation during his original prosecution. Personally, because I may not have covered the case back then, I did follow it. And in my humble opinion, Bryan got that and more. At a change of plea hearing in early July 2025, Kohberger endorsed his public defenders under oath in court before Judge Stephen Hippler of Idaho's 4th Judicial District in Ada County, acknowledged the legal team, led by attorney Ann Taylor, had performed to his satisfaction. But a U.S. Supreme Court decision in 2019, Garza versus Idaho, affirmed that a defendant can always appeal on certain Sixth Amendment grounds, regardless of whether they previously agreed to waive those rights. Kohberger also signed a guilty plea advisory, a plea agreement, and a written factual basis connected to the deal he accepted from prosecutors that saw him sentenced to the rest of his life in prison. Taylor also told the court she consented to her client's entry of his guilty plea. Quote, I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily, Hippler told Kohberger in court last summer, and I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit, end quote. And Kohberger replied, yeah, he's pleading guilty. And as they write here, this would be appeal suggests that this case is not over. 4 years later, not over. And under Idaho law, a defendant must seek post-conviction relief within a year of a 40-day clock expiring from the deadline to file a direct appeal of their conviction. In Kohberger's case, his post-conviction relief petition deadline is first week of September of this year. Kohberger told the New York Times by phone, quote, "Why am I breaking my silence? A lot went wrong in those plea discussions. I really do want to be heard," end quote. And as the newspaper points out, merely filing a notice to appeal does not itself violate the terms of a plea agreement. And then they continue to write, but Kohberger's efforts to reopen his criminal case could jeopardize his current sentence and restore the chance of the death penalty or even the possibility of a federal case, where capital punishment also could be back on the table. Now, folks, when I followed the case back then, I had some issues with the case. But that doesn't mean there weren't strong evidence against him. I am friends in the true crime community with people who actually say, no, there's something that doesn't make sense, who now will have what we call a water on the mill, meaning they now can start producing content out of their conviction that Mr. Kohberger is not the culprit. I don't mind. It's good to have difference of opinions. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't see this appeal going through. I really don't. Because he did get not only an adequate defense, he got an attorney who fought until her nails bled for him. And his plea deal took many by surprise. But sometimes you have to trust a person. When they say who they are, trust them. Now, in that case, there was a lot of misinformation. Don't get me wrong. A lot of misinformation. But I do believe in the core of this case, there was beyond enough evidence to convict him if they were presented in court. But they haven't been presented in court in front of a jury of his peers. So I don't believe, even though I don't believe this appeal will go anywhere, I would still say I would welcome an actual trial where the evidence is put up there for the public to see. So we could finally put a rest all the theories out there. I do think for the sake of the public, and maybe the families won't agree with it, but I do believe an actual conviction based on the evidence presented to a jury of his peers would actually put any doubts to rest. That is what I had for you. I will link to the article in the description. You know what to do. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you in the next stream or video. Bye-bye.
Santa Claus, riding in with the winter laws.